claiming their first ever win against the Zambian side in continental football at the fifth attempt, having played the likes of Nchanga, Rangers as well as Zesco in the 2018-2019 season. It was Pule Moody with an early goal as early as the second minute, and that made all the difference then as Kaizer Chiefs finally held on to make sure they claimed their first 3 points of the Group D campaign here in the CAF Confederation Cup. For Zesco, the home side, disappointing performance. They've now lost 3 out of 3 matches in the group stages of the CAF Confed Cup. They qualified for this competition having finished second in their league behind Power Dynamos, who are playing in the Champions League. But the day belongs to Kaizer Chiefs then, and they're up and running in this CAF Confed Cup with a 1-0 victory against Zesco in Ndola. Been watching the game with the 2 doctors, Dr. Walter Steinbok with the PhD in sports science and football, former TD at SAFA, as well as Dr. Khumalo. I'll start with you, Dr. Steinbok. 1-0 win, not the most exciting of games. Does it matter though at this stage of the in this kind of competitions?
Yeah, for Chiefs, you take these 3 points, vital 3 points. Very difficult, and we're just also talking with the doggies. Remember, this is the second game after the recess. You are building the momentum, you're building the minutes of the players who are playing away. The field was also very, very bad. You get one major chance from a set play, you take it. You have managed to rotate young players, others got 60 minutes. You do also get a bite. Mabaso got a bite, and of course, you also have a clean sheet, in second successive match. So, very, very happy, but there's still a lot of things that Chiefs need to take care of, moving in the latter part of the season. Yeah,
and we'll talk about that. Here's what's been happening in the CAF Confederation Cup so far. It started on Friday, and the USM Alger beating a Joliba there, and Azam from Tanzania leading against a Nairobi United. And our game that we've showed you, Kaizer Chiefs then beating Zesco by a 1-0. Remember, later on, we still have Stellenbosch also who have traveled to Algeria to take on CR Belouizdad of Siad Ramovic, and they will be live on SABC Sport later on today. The other game in this group, it is an Egyptian derby in Alexandria. Zamalek up against Al Mazri. Zamalek with 4 points, Al Mazri with 2 wins from their 2 matches, and Wydad will play Maniema Union, and Singida Black Stars also in action. That's the same group as Stellenbosch. Singida from Tanzania up against AS Otoho of Congo. Stellenbosch are top of that group, but at the moment, as we've mentioned, it is Al Mazri, the 2 Egyptian sides actually that are top of the group, and then Kaizer Chiefs, same number of points with Zamalek, who will play later today. Still nothing on the board for Zesco United. And the other group that we didn't see is Stellenbosch, but they are top of their group at the moment. They've got a victory and they've got a draw after 2 matches, but they are led now by coach Kevin Hunt following the departure of Steve Barker. But we've been talking Chiefs and Zesco. Chiefs winning. Dr. Walter Steinbok said it doesn't matter how you win here in the CAF Confed Cup as long as you get the 3 points, especially because there was a long break and the teams are coming back. Yeah, but they did, though, Doc, seem to lose control of the game in the second half, Kaizer Chiefs. Why do you think that is?
I think when you look at how they fared in the first half, we illustrated how they were defending, how they were attacking. Walter showed us the 3 up front, the 3 in the middle, obviously the 4 plus the goalkeeper, which enabled Zesco to combine or maybe to pose a problem. But I think then it was too early for the 2 early subs that they've made. It actually tempered with the fluidity of the game. So they lost the social factor on the field. And also, 60th minute, they made another substitution because now they are probably closer to the game, but based on our experience, you also have to manage, the time, because when you use more of your subs early, what if one of them probably gets a red or probably an injury? And now you still have like 30 minutes to play, or 25, then you don't have any more subs. But again, I think the second half, it was a total different Kaizer Chiefs because they lost the spark.
The rhythm.
The rhythm, the fluidity of the game. Also, with Lilepo being thrown in the deep end to play as a striker, you know, it actually changed the complexion of their tactical approach. But then we need to give them credit because we saw the field. It was not playable, and they managed to keep the score the way it is.
Yeah, 4 subs in the first 65 minutes. Does it go back to what you were saying, trying to manage the legs, trying to manage the players?
Look, from Zesco's side, they had a lot of stress. You know, I mean, we saw in the first half already Vitalis had to come out, and also Musuku. You know, so they had to change their structure in the midfield because it was not really working. You know, but then they started also having a lot of joy coming from the left because the left back, both this on the left and also on the right, you know, was excellent. Mwanza came then, gave them a lot of impetus. But then Chiefs lost the midfield control, you know, when Maboe was substituted. Because remember, Maboe and Ndlovu were really doing quite well. And I agree with Mdogis. Once you do that a little bit early, trying to manage the minutes, you lose the cohesion, you know, and the social factor in the midfield. Then you start not having an easier way from the first phase to the second phase to link up with the striker. And then Silva was then lost also. And then again, there was lots of pressure, you know, and lots of fouls from Chiefs in the second half. So very, very clumsy second half, but it could have gone either way, you know, but at least for us, it's better that Chiefs managed to sustain the lead. But it was really difficult in the second half to watch and the pain.
Yeah, and that lead seems like such a long time ago because it was as early as the second minute that Kaizer Chiefs were off the mark of a set piece, which the analyst did say before the game that set pieces will be key in a game like this, and straight from the corner then.
As you can see there, a free header from Silva, bounce off the goal post, and then a free tap-in by Modi. Again, questionable in terms of the goalkeeping there.
Which you highlighted before the game.
So he is not moving with the ball, so he didn't anticipate, nor did he think if they hit. So look at it, look at the ball where it's heading to. He's still stuck in one place. But then again, like we said, you don't zone when it comes to that ball situation. You pick tight. We have those lines. Because as you can see, Kaizer Chiefs has like 2 lines. I think the far end, they had...
And there's your keeper, Doc.
The keeper there.
Sakauta.
Yeah, as you can see, they were showing the position of the keeper. So, again, free tap in Modi. And it's questionable how they...
Stuck on his line, the goalkeeper there.
Yeah, very, very shocking because, one, they have to manage the first pole because the ball drops in the first pole and then there's no management. But exactly what Doc is saying, we expect that besides having a man marking for set play, especially in the box, at least have 2 lines, you know, and don't leave anyone free there. So you've got to man mark. But then again, the keeper, we spoke about in the first half, you've got to shuffle the feet, you know, so he was very, very late to shovel to get to the other side. And a keeper like this with a big frame, you really expect him to watch the ball and go with the ball and shovel and be able to protect the far pole, but he doesn't do that. But this has been an Achilles heel kind of a problem for them throughout, from the Jwaneng game to Al-Mazri, that they can't defend set pieces, you know, and it's difficult. And of course, they lose the game from that moment, early in the match.
Yeah, seems to be problems also in that goalkeeping department. No more Tostan Tabada. Cyril Chuba is also back here in South Africa, having turned out for Zesco. But there was a moment of concern for Kaizer Chiefs when they lost the ball there, and Zesco had half of an opportunity. But we did highlight the pitch, Doc, which is probably what happened here.
Obviously, they would have a feel of the field. They've been playing, if you look at the clock, I mean, they've been on that field probably from the warm-up. They couldn't probably train. Yes, we agree. They couldn't train.
Yeah,
a day before the match.
Day before, because there was a game.
Because of the game there. But the reason why we have to make sure that our players, they have a feel of the field is to avoid this kind of mistakes. You need to know what kind of a field it is and what kind of boots you need to wear. But also, I mean, you are the last line of defense. You cannot afford to make that kind of a mistake because the field is not proper or conducive for any tricky situation at the back. So we always prefer to have those mistakes in the half of the opponents, not this side. Then if we loss of possession, then we still have numbers to recover on that will be phase number 2, because the phase 1 will be attack. Then the second one, when you lose the position, you still have numbers.
When you are in your own half.
Yes, because, I mean, he lost possession, and what happened? If that keeper was, I mean, the player, if he was faster enough, he would have probably caused a lot of problems because that was the last line of defense.
Yeah, it looked like the ball also got stuck in the on the pitch there for the Zesco player. But interesting point that Doc makes, because Chiefs on match day -1 on Friday could not train on this field because there was a Champions League game yesterday between Power Dynamos and Rivers United. So Chiefs were forced to go train at another stadium which is used by Forest Rangers in Ndola. So they didn't really get a feel, especially because there was also wet weather in Ndola just ahead of this game. That's why the pitch was not in a good condition. They took a lot of beating leading up to these 2 games. But also, there was a good moment here for Vilakazi. We spoke about maybe a suitable position for him. Doc felt he could have come through. He should be playing more in the middle, and that's what we see here with Vilakazi.
Yeah, look, a player who has the intelligence and the creativity of Vilakazi. You always want him in the pockets because he has an excellent positional play. You know, he has an eye to look for that pass. And that was a very, very good pass for Da Silva. So he has the ability to be able to come inside and look for the ball. I mean, most of the players now in the modern era, when the team is in possession, hide behind people.
Yes.
You don't have a player like this who's always available to get the second pass or the first pass or to get into those spaces. Try to play him closer to the action. So sometimes when he's too far on the side, the game demands a lot from him because he has to track back. You know, so and when we have the ball, imagine if we play in our team and Doctor is in the defensive third.
No, Doctor doesn't.
You know,
Doctor we have to defend.
So we have to be very, very clever where he goes. But already he tells us with his intelligence and his positional sense that he always wants to be between the lines, and also he positions himself so that one touch and then he puts the ball. So very clever, who needs to be around the action, not always far away from the action.
But how does he adjust his game when the field is like this and it's wet, Doc, and the field is heavy? Because we saw maybe it didn't suit his style of play.
Exactly, because he's a smart player. So this kind of players like Mbuso, they have got what we call cognitive skills, where you don't coach him this kind of a pass and when to release. So
Let's focus on the pressing of Kaizer Chiefs also that both of you wanted to highlight here. That's why Zesco was struggling to come out of their half.
So the structure for Chiefs was excellent in the first half, Tabiso. So they could direct the play and, of course, control the center there with 2 lines of 3. And look also at the pressure that they apply when Zesco has the ball on the lateral side. And still when the ball is rotated to the other side, I mean, Mayo also has the energy to come there, put a little bit of pressure in the second zone. And again, look at the organization again, you know, well structured, looks like a man-on-man again there, but a line of 3 and a line of 3 again. But now in the second half, this changed completely, Tabiso. Where now they started dropping a little bit deep, and now they started having a total complete withdrawal. And that brought Zesco a lot of time in the game. Again here, immediately because of that pressing and organization, it was easy for them to regain the ball. So very good structure there in the first half. But once you change players quickly, you know, you lose that structure. But again, we understand